Outside of the Club World Cup and the Copa Oro, which just wrapped up, we're in the stage of the footballing calendar where really not that much is happening from an actual footballing perspective. But with that being said, the stage we're in is the one where clubs are able to flex their pockets in an attempt to get better from the year before. That's right, boys, we are in the middle of the summer transfer window. Some might say one of the best times of the year. If your club is Real Madrid or Man City, then you don't have a care in the world because you know that your club is going to splash the cash on anyone that they want. Everyone else realistically ends up playing this period at a much slower pace, but at the end of the day, the objective remains the same. Bring players in and ship players out, all in an attempt to improve on whatever happened the season before. It doesn't matter if a team got relegated, almost got relegated, won their league, or won the Champions League. At the end of the day, they're bound to be active in the transfer window in one way or another. So it's only right that we take a look at some of the more important transfers that have happened so far, because there really is a lot and it's very easy to lose track of them. But with that being said, boys, if you're new to the channel, enjoying the video, enjoying the content, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We're dropping weekly football videos, so make sure you hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss an upload. And if you're not new to the channel, boys, welcome back. Glad to have you around for another video. Let me know your thoughts on your club's transfer window so far. But with that being said, boys, let's get into these transfers. Matheus Cunha over the last 2 seasons has established himself as a very solid Premier League player. Despite playing for relegation candidates, he's been able to finish his 2 seasons with the club with pretty impressive numbers, as in the 23-24 run, he had 14 goals and 8 assists, and then 17 goals and 6 assists in the 24-25 season. Being the driving force behind Wolves' attack, he's been able to score a large variety of goals, drive the ball forward effectively, and pretty much create all of their offense. And with that, he became a hot commodity. In steps Manchester United, who was able to acquire his services for 62 million euros. United have been in desperate need of an attacker that can actually score goals, and especially at the Premier League level, so we're hoping that Matheus Cunha can tick all those boxes. Our attack is currently really as good as any Sunday League team, or maybe like the Sidemen FC charity match teams, so Cunha really just levels the team up by 1000%. Liam Delap last season had the unfortunate task of leading the line for an Ipswich side that we all really just knew was going to get relegated. Having left the City Academy a few years ago, there was hope that the 24-25 campaign would be his opportunity to finally show the world all the potential that people had described him to have. And to an extent, he did sort of achieve this, as he would shine in a handful of matches where he was able to display some great hold-up play, decent pace in behind, and some solid technical ability. Pair this with his 12 goals and 2 assists, and people began to take some notice. Once Ipswich did get relegated, it activated the part of his contract that would allow him to leave for just a 30 million euro release clause, which did get a lot of attention. Clubs like United, Chelsea, and Arsenal all were interested, but at the end of the day, Chelsea would win the race for Delap, as he would become one of their many signings this summer. At Chelsea, Delap more than likely is going to be sharing that front line with Nicholas Jackson and someone else who we'll talk about a little bit later, which surely will do him some good because it doesn't put all of Chelsea's load onto him, but at the same time, why did he move somewhere where he might not be the first option at this young age? There's pros and cons to it for sure. He definitely feels like more of a project signing at the moment, but who knows what his ceiling could be this year. We saw what happened when Cole Palmer left City to join Chelsea, so who knows if he'll follow in those footsteps. Over the last few years, Jarrell Quanta has become somewhat of a reliable backup option in the Liverpool backline, but it always felt like it was just never his time. With Konate and Van Dijk ahead of him in the pecking order, it was always going to become difficult to break through as a starter. But last season, he barely played. He just about got over 1200 minutes played and only managed to get 13 appearances in the Premier League altogether. The 22-year-old has been acquired by a new look Erik ten Hag led Bayer Leverkusen for 34.9 million euros, as Bayer do look to create a new identity for themselves following Xabi Alonso's departure, which is going to be very interesting to see because we saw what happened to United when Ten Hag took over. Quanta is young, and we've already seen some Englishmen do very well in the Bundesliga, so there's not too many reasons why this transfer might not work. Really, this is his opportunity to showcase what Liverpool have been sleeping on this entire time. Either that or he'll slowly fade into obscurity, but time will tell. Jonathan David has quickly become one of the most consistent Ligue 1 strikers over these last couple of years. At Lille alone, he's been able to get 87 goals in 178 appearances, which is essentially a goal every other game. Pretty good track record if you ask me. And in fact, he's currently Lille's 3rd all-time top goal scorer. Not too bad for a Canadian. And simultaneously, over the last couple of years, Fabrizio Romano has been a one-man PR machine for David, as he's looked to move to a better club for some time now. And the time has finally come for Jonathan David, because Juventus has acquired his services on a free transfer because his contract with Lille was not renewed. A massive acquisition for Juventus, because if this transfer bangs, they have finally found themselves a reliable goal scorer, which is something they've been struggling with for some time. As a whole, Juventus has had a lot of issues, but if they can have a reliable, young, and hungry goal threat up top, then this could start to change things for them. Juve love themselves a free transfer, so they'll hope that good trend continues. But while Juventus have acquired themselves someone young and fresh, Napoli have acquired themselves a veteran of the game and have snatched up Kevin De Bruyne on a free transfer. After so many years of dominating the Prem and terrorizing my life as a United fan, Kevin De Bruyne decided that his time with Man City had come to an end. Basically, it was very clear that De Bruyne was past it. To be honest, a lot of people thought that he was gonna go the Saudi or the MLS route, but he ended up joining the Italian champions in Napoli. This is a huge pickup for Napoli because if they can get Kevin De Bruyne pushing even closely to what he was at during his peak, then they'll have a very solid midfield. On top of that, we've seen in the past where stars who are a little bit older are able to unlock a different level when they've arrived in the Serie A. So who knows what Kevin De Bruyne will have in store once the season really gets going. It's gonna be very interesting to see if Unk still has anything left in the chamber, especially in the Champions League. With Andy Robertson's ability on the pitch quickly falling off a cliff and Tsimikas not being quite the replacement they thought he was gonna be, Liverpool quickly found themselves in a situation where they needed someone who could operate at left back role at an elite level. In steps Milos Kerkez, who Liverpool got themselves for 40 million euros, which is definitely a steal. Kerkez has quickly become one of the best attacking fullbacks in the Premier League, which was evident in how highly he ranked for his progressive stats and key attacking metrics like expected goals, shots, and assists from the left back position. With that alone, Liverpool knew that Kerkez would be the perfect fit, especially given he already has that Premier League experience. The only way Kerkez flops is if playing for Liverpool is just too heavy for him, but I really don't see that happen. This transfer just makes sense. Real Madrid, of course, every year managed to bag themselves one of the massive names in world football, and while they have done that this year as well, which we'll get into in a second, they went and got themselves a good project signing as well. They went and signed Franco Mastantuano from River Plate for 45 million euros. The 17-year-old attacking midfielder impressed greatly in the Argentinian league as he has been lighting it up through his great dribbling ability, creativity, and ball striking. Madrid are going to be hoping that this transfer works out like Julian Alvarez did for Man City, and with Mastantuano having a decent Club World Cup, this could definitely be on the cards for them. And the latest player to follow the Bundesliga to Bayern Munich industrial complex, veteran defender Jonathan Tah has made his move to the German Giants for just 750,000 euros. He was going to move on a free, but Bayern wanted him before the Club World Cup, so they had to pay a small fee. Tah has been a Bundesliga mainstay for some time now, and he was very integral for Bayer Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso. So Bayern Munich is going to hope that Tah becomes a reliable defender for them when needed. They've struggled with that central defender position, so they'll want to get it right this time. After facing some time out due to issues at Juventus, Paul Pogba will finally be making his return to a football pitch as he signed for Monaco on a free. Earlier this year, it was announced that Pogba was finally going to be able to make that return, and there was a lot of speculation as to where he would go. In my opinion, joining Monaco is a great idea as this will give him time in his home country to get back to speed with playing at an elite level, and should he impress, I'm sure clubs will take notice. On top of that, he will be back playing in Champions League football, and thus will still be able to test himself at that higher level. I'm very excited to see Le Pioche back on a football pitch. And like I said with KDB, we're gonna have to see if Unk still has a little bit left in the chamber. Despite spending more money on defense than many countries out there in this planet, Manchester City have gone and signed themselves another one. This time they've acquired the services of Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolves for 25 million euros, which is genuinely a steal. At 24, Aït-Nouri, just like Kerkez from earlier, has become one of the best options for a left back that is capable of going forward. The guy literally got 7 assists last season. Not only this, but he has great technical ability and can even drift on the inside, which Pep Guardiola is going to love. Oftentimes for Wolves, Aït-Nouri really would be the only player operating that flank, and with this, City will now be able to deploy Guardiola in his actual position of center back. City as a whole is going through a refresh, and Aït-Nouri is going to be one of those players that is very key to that refresh. But now let's talk about a former Manchester City fullback. Some of you might be too young to remember when Rio Ferdinand moved to QPR, and we finally have a modern version of that as Kyle Walker has joined championship side Burnley for 5 million euros. At least QPR were in the Prem. Walker moved to AC Milan this past winter transfer window on loan and really was not impressive in any capacity. Now he's going to hope that his services can still be of use in the championship, and given the physicality needed in the championship, I really don't think Walker's really going to be able to provide much, because his physicality really was the main attribute that made him good in the first place. Once his pace went, he looked like a shell of his former self, so let's see how this really goes for him and for Burnley. But enough on that dinosaur. In a more relevant transfer, Liverpool have finally found the replacement for Philippe Coutinho, or at least it looks that way, as they have signed German wonderkid Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen for 117.5 million euros. The German superstar was arguably the most important piece for Bayer under Xabi Alonso. During his time under the Spaniard, Wirtz became a creative machine whose passing, technical ability, and ability to create shots from the attacking midfield position pretty much made him untouchable in the Bundesliga. For Liverpool, they have just given Arne Slot a monster who will help tremendously with taking some load off of Salah, which as a whole is going to unlock a whole new dynamic dynamic out of this Liverpool team. Of course, there's the slightest worry that this transfer might not work out, because if we're being honest, as of late, Bundesliga talents have not really been translating well to the Premier League, but I really don't think this will be the case, as Wirtz seemingly is just one of those players that can really shine anywhere he goes. For the 5th time in 3 years, Brighton has shipped off one of their best assets to Chelsea. This time we have João Pedro joining Chelsea for 55 million euros. That is correct, Chelsea have signed João Pedro after signing Liam Delap. This is the type of greed they really write about. It truly is one of a kind. João Pedro in 27 matches last season was able to get 10 goals and 6 assists up in a Brighton side that wasn't the most consistent over the season. I will say that Pedro often found himself picking up the ball and driving at defenses to make chances out of nothing. In my opinion, I think they're probably going to end up deploying him just a little bit behind Delap or Jackson, but he's also easily able to lead the line by himself, especially with guys like Pedro Neto and Cole Palmer and the 1,000 other wingers that Chelsea have to make those runs in behind. We've already seen from his appearances at the Club World Cup what João was able to unlock at Chelsea, so let's see how the rest of the Prem season goes. For once in quite some time, Real Madrid have gone out and actually splashed some cash instead of just waiting for a player to become a free agent. After going through a crisis with their backline last season, Madrid went out and acquired Dean Huijsen from Bournemouth for 59.4 million euros. Huijsen last season played a massive part in Iriola's Bournemouth, finishing in a very solid position in the Premier League. At just the age of 20, Huijsen's calmness on the ball as well as ball winning ability saw him easily become one of the best center backs in the league. Madrid, without a shadow of a doubt, have acquired themselves a center back that, if everything goes well, will be leading that back line for some time. It's crazy to think that Juventus let him go to Bournemouth for pretty much nothing, and now the guy is going to be leading the back line for Real Madrid. Just excellent business going on from them. But even though Madrid did spend money on Huijsen, they just had to go and grab themselves a free transfer. And after years of flirting, the transfer that we all saw coming from miles away finally happened, as Trent Alexander-Arnold would join Real Madrid. Okay, to be honest, it wasn't a fully free transfer. Madrid really wanted Trent for the Club World Cup, so they had to pay Liverpool a 12 million euro fee. But if it wasn't for this tournament, it would have been a free transfer. So whatever, you know, you guys get it. This is easily a match made in heaven for both parties involved. Trent is joining a world-class side where, should things pan out, he will easily place himself as an all-timer. And Real Madrid is not only finally replacing Carvajal, but they got a player that is 10 times better and one that slots right into the new system. Trent over the last few years has become arguably the best right back of this generation, and now has become the latest Galactico. Success is not a given, but the writing is on the wall for this to be a fantastic transfer. Similar to João Pedro, we are seeing with Trent what he's able to bring to this Madrid side at the Club World Cup, and so far it's delicious. After having a breakout season with AC Milan, Tijani Reijnders has signed for Manchester City for 55 million euros. City were in desperate need of some backup in the midfielder position, or really just someone to finally replace both Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne, and the closest that they're gonna get is Reijnders. But the thing about Reijnders is that he doesn't only fit the bill to kind of play that 8 role where he's able to get forward, but really, should anything happen, he can also fill in at that 6 role, which will also be good to give Rodri some cover given what happened to his ACL. And the Manchester City greed does not stop there, because they also went and signed Ryan Cherki for 39 million euros. Cherki was bound to move. He is phenomenal, a talent like none other really that we have at the moment. He was gonna move regardless of what happened, but with Lyon being pressured to sell due to their financial crisis that's going on at the club, they got him for an absolute bargain. We've already been seeing in the Club World Cup what Cherki's gonna be able to bring to Manchester City. That guy has Phil Foden feeling so insecure. He's just gonna light up the Premier League. I already know it. At this point, it just becomes a question of how much he's gonna play under Pep, because we know how much the guy likes to rotate his team. And if you thought Man City was greedy, Chelsea just really one-upped them. They signed young up-and-coming central defensive midfielder from Sporting Lisbon, Dario Uzego, for 22 million euros, and they also signed Jamie Giddens from Borussia Dortmund for 55 million euros. Chelsea is just stockpiling young, fantastic talent, and so far in the Club World Cup, they have been very impressive, and if it all works out, it could be spooky. And to just kind of round out with a couple more transfers, we have Joe Bellingham going to Borussia Dortmund for 27.8 million euros. This is good for him. He did have the opportunity to play in the Premier League with Sunderland, but to be honest with you, playing at Borussia Dortmund is going to be a lot better for him from a developmental standpoint, so really it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. We might be seeing another Bellingham maybe going to Real Madrid or some other top club in Europe. Barca finally signed a replacement for thorn in their side Ter Stegen with João Garcia for 25 million euros. What makes this transfer even more interesting is the fact that he moved from the rival Catalan club in Espanyol, so it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of reception he gets when they do play against them away from home. João Garcia was a very solid keeper in La Liga last year, and really given the fact of how much they've struggled with Ter Stegen in net, how old Szczesny is getting, they needed someone to be a little bit more reliable, and that's exactly what they got. And then finally, finally in the saga that has gone on all summer, or really since the January window, and the saga that we're pretty much all tired of, and maybe even Arsenal fans. Arsenal signed central defensive midfielder Martin Zubimendi for 60 million euros. Arsenal at the moment are very locked in, it looks like, to get Victor Gyökeres, but from what I know, I don't think it's fully official, at least as of the recording of this video. So I'll say what I have to say. They need a striker, and they've gone and signed themselves yet another center defensive midfielder. The thing with Zubimendi is that he's good, right? We all know that. He did get dunked on by United in the Europa League, but he's still very good. The only issue is he doesn't really move the needle for that Arsenal midfield. He's not better than Declan Rice. They already have Mikel Merino, which is a little bit of a different profile, but somewhat similar. So what was the point of signing Zubimendi? It doesn't really make sense to me, and of course, like I said, they do need a striker. They're bound to get Gyökeres, it looks like, at the moment. But Zubimendi, they didn't really need. It's been going on for such a long time. All the effort and resources they put into this transfer, it just doesn't make sense. Unless the guy ends up, for whatever reason, scoring like 10 to 15 goals and assisting the same amount, it's just not going to be worth it, especially at 60 million. But that's a ton of transfers. A lot of the big ones that have happened so far. Probably missed a couple, a handful, and maybe some from your favorite club. So make sure you let me know in the comments down below if I did miss a lot. Maybe I'll do another video. But I'll end off on just one plea. Manchester United, please get Mbeumo over the line. Please sign somebody. I'm getting tired of waiting.